Adam Pearce just fired Bronson Reed in a backstage confrontation so explosive that WWE is desperately trying to suppress the footage because it exposes the real reason Reed was terminated, and it has nothing to do with protecting Roman Reigns and everything to do with covering up WWE's own negligent safety management that nearly killed their biggest star. The leaked audio from Reed's termination meeting reveals Pearce screaming at him about crossing the line and endangering company assets, while the real evidence shows that Reed was following explicit instructions from management to make it memorable and don't hold back during his attack on the original tribal chief. Right now, Bronson Reed is being used as a scapegoat by WWE executives who authorized every second of the violence that put Roman Reigns in the hospital, and Pearce's firing is nothing but corporate damage control designed to shift blame away from the management failures that nearly resulted in a wrestling death on live television. The exclusive footage I obtained shows Reed breaking down in tears during his termination, not because he's sorry for attacking Roman, but because he's realizing that WWE is throwing him under the bus to protect the executives who told him to deliver that level of violence in the first place. But here's what makes Adam Pearce's decision to fire Reed absolutely disgusting. The leaked documents prove that Pearce himself was in the production meeting where the attack was planned and approved. He personally signed off on the violence that he's now using as justification for Reed's termination. The production notes that leaked show Pearce's signature on authorization forms for enhanced physical storytelling and elevated impact sequences that gave Reed permission to exceed normal safety parameters during his assault on Roman Reigns. Pearce authorized the attack. The same executive who just fired Reed for unauthorized violence was the one who gave him written permission to deliver the level of punishment that nearly killed Roman. The hypocrisy of firing someone for following your own instructions shows that Pearce is more concerned with protecting his own position than taking responsibility for the safety failures that occurred under his management. But the leaked audio from Reed's firing reveals even more shocking details about WWE's systematic cover-up of their role in Roman's near-fatal injuries. "You exceeded your instructions and went beyond what was authorized," Pearce tells Reed in the termination meeting. But Reed's response exposes the lie. "I have the signed authorization right here. You told me to make it the most talked about segment of the year." Signed authorization. Reed has documentary proof that Pearce personally approved every aspect of the violence that put Roman in critical condition, but Pearce is firing him anyway to create a public scapegoat for management failures. The existence of written authorization from Pearce completely undermines the official narrative that Reed went rogue and attacked Roman without permission. Meanwhile, the leaked conversation between Reed and his legal team shows him preparing to sue WWE for wrongful termination because he has evidence proving he was fired for following management instructions. "They're destroying my career to cover up their own negligence," Reed tells his attorney. "I have documents, recordings, and witnesses that prove everything I did was specifically authorized by WWE management." Wrongful termination lawsuit. Reed's legal case could expose the entire scope of WWE's safety management failures and prove that his firing was corporate scapegoating rather than legitimate disciplinary action. The documentary evidence that Reed possesses could completely destroy WWE's narrative about unauthorized violence and reveal the systematic management failures that nearly killed Roman Reigns. But here's what makes this situation even more infuriating. Adam Pearce's firing of Reed came only after WWE's legal team told him that the company needed a public scapegoat to avoid criminal liability for Roman's injuries. The leaked email chain shows corporate lawyers explicitly advising that sacrificing a mid-card talent would be preferable to facing potential manslaughter charges if Roman's condition worsened. Terminating Reed and characterizing his actions as unauthorized violence provides legal insulation for management, the leaked legal memo states. "The public needs to see decisive disciplinary action to maintain confidence in our safety protocols." Sacrificing a mid-card talent. WWE's legal strategy involves destroying Reed's career to protect executives from potential criminal charges related to Roman's near-fatal injuries. The calculated decision to ruin an employee's livelihood for corporate legal protection shows the moral bankruptcy of WWE's crisis management approach. Reed is being punished not for what he did, but for being expendable enough that WWE can afford to destroy his career for their own legal benefit. The leaked footage from Reed's final backstage appearance shows him confronting other wrestlers about the injustice of his termination while they remain silent out of fear for their own job security. "They're scapegoating me for doing exactly what management told me to do," Reed tells his colleagues. "If they can do this to me, they can do it to any of you who follow their instructions and then become inconvenient. They can do it to any of you." Reed's warning to other wrestlers exposes the systematic way WWE uses talent as disposable scapegoats when corporate decisions result in negative consequences. His termination sends a chilling message to the entire roster that following management instructions provides no protection from being sacrificed if those instructions lead to problems. But the most shocking revelation from Reed's firing is the leaked audio showing that Roman Reigns himself opposed the termination because he knew Reed was following orders. Bronson was doing his job, Roman apparently told Pearce from his hospital bed. "If you want to fire someone for what happened to me, fire the people who authorized it, not the guy who was following instructions." Roman opposed the firing. The victim of Reed's attack recognized that the wrestler was following management directions and shouldn't be punished for corporate safety failures. Roman's opposition to Reed's termination proves that even the injured party understood the difference between individual wrestler responsibility and systematic management negligence. But Pearce ignored Roman's wishes and proceeded with the firing because corporate legal protection mattered more than the victim's perspective on justice and accountability. Meanwhile, the leaked conversation between Reed and Bron Breakker shows both wrestlers realizing they were set up by WWE management to take the fall for corporate safety failures. "They used us," Reed tells Breakker. "They told us to hurt Roman badly enough to create mainstream media coverage, and now they're acting shocked that we followed their instructions. They used us." Both wrestlers involved in Roman's attack are recognizing that they were manipulated by management into actions that would later be used to destroy their careers. The systematic manipulation of wrestlers to carry out corporate-approved violence and then face individual punishment shows the calculated nature of WWE's scapegoating strategy. Breakker's apparent realization that he could be next for termination has reportedly led him to seek legal counsel and compile evidence of management authorization for his role in the attack. But the leaked internal WWE memo shows that Pearce's firing of Reed was also designed to intimidate other wrestlers into silence about management's role in authorizing dangerous violence. Reed's termination serves as an example to other talent about the consequences of public criticism or legal action against the company, the memo states. His firing should discourage similar complaints from other performers. Intimidation of other talent. Reed's termination is being used as a threat against other wrestlers who might consider speaking out about safety management failures or corporate negligence. The systematic intimidation campaign using Reed's career destruction as an example shows how WWE maintains control over talent through fear of professional retaliation. But the strategy may be backfiring as multiple wrestlers are reportedly consulting attorneys about potential safety violations and wrongful discipline claims related to management's handling of the Roman situation. The leaked audio from Reed's final conversation with Adam Pearce reveals his fury at being sacrificed for management failures while the executives who authorized the violence face no consequences. "You sit in your office making decisions that nearly killed Roman, and then you fire me for following your orders," Reed screams at Pearce. "You're a coward who throws wrestlers under the bus to save your own career." Coward who throws wrestlers under the bus. Reed's direct confrontation with Pearce exposes the moral cowardice of executives who sacrifice talent to protect themselves from accountability. The personal attack on Pearce's character during the termination meeting shows Reed's complete loss of respect for management that would destroy careers to cover up their own failures. But Pearce's response reveals the corporate mindset that views talent as expendable resources rather than human beings deserving of fair treatment. "Your employment is terminated effective immediately," Pearce responds coldly. "Security will escort you from the premises. Any public statements about this termination will result in legal action for breach of confidentiality." Legal threats for speaking publicly. Even during Reed's termination, Pearce is using intimidation tactics to silence him about the injustice of being fired for following management instructions. The systematic effort to silence Reed through legal threats shows WWE's desperation to prevent him from exposing the truth about their scapegoating strategy. Meanwhile, the wrestling community's reaction to Reed's firing has been overwhelmingly negative, with fans and industry professionals recognizing it as obvious scapegoating rather than legitimate accountability. Social media is flooded with support for Reed and criticism of WWE's transparent attempt to blame individual talent for systematic management failures that nearly killed Roman Reigns. Multiple wrestling journalists have published investigations exposing the contradictions between Reed's termination and the documented evidence of management authorization for his actions. But WWE continues maintaining their false narrative about Reed's unauthorized violence despite overwhelming evidence that contradicts their official story. The leaked conversation between Reed and wrestling media shows him preparing to go public with evidence that will expose WWE's scapegoating strategy and Pearce's role in authorizing the violence. "I'm not going to let them destroy my reputation to cover up their negligence," Reed tells reporters. "I have proof that everything I did was specifically authorized by Adam Pearce and WWE management. Not going to let them destroy my reputation." Reed's decision to fight back against his wrongful termination could expose the entire scope of WWE's safety management failures and corporate cover-up. His willingness to face legal retaliation to tell the truth about his firing shows courage that contrasts sharply with WWE's cowardly scapegoating tactics. But the leaked legal analysis shows that Reed's wrongful termination case could result in massive financial liability for WWE if he can prove that his firing was retaliation for following management instructions. Terminating an employee for actions that were explicitly authorized by management constitutes wrongful dismissal and potentially criminal fraud, legal experts analyzing the case have concluded. Criminal fraud. The legal implications of Reed's firing extend beyond just employment law to potential criminal charges if WWE is found to have deliberately destroyed his career through false accusations. The criminal exposure that WWE faces from their scapegoating strategy could result in far more serious consequences than the original safety management failures. But perhaps the most devastating aspect of Reed's firing is how it exposes the complete breakdown of trust between WWE management and their roster. Multiple wrestlers have reportedly expressed fears that they could be the next victims of corporate scapegoating if they follow management instructions that later become inconvenient for the company. The leaked locker room conversations show performers questioning whether they should refuse certain storylines to protect themselves from potential termination if those storylines result in negative consequences. If they can fire Bronson for doing what he was told, none of us are safe, one wrestler states in leaked audio. Maybe we need to start refusing dangerous spots to protect ourselves from being scapegoated later. None of us are safe. Reed's termination has created an atmosphere of fear and distrust where wrestlers are questioning whether following management instructions provides any protection from corporate retaliation. The systematic breakdown of management credibility could severely impact WWE's ability to execute storylines if performers begin refusing corporate directions out of fear for their job security. Meanwhile, the leaked footage shows Reed clearing out his locker while other wrestlers watch in silent support, afraid to publicly defend him due to fear of similar retaliation. The atmosphere of fear and intimidation that Reed's firing has created among the roster shows how corporate scapegoating tactics damage morale and workplace relationships beyond just the individual victim. But several wrestlers have reportedly reached out to Reed privately to express support and share their own experiences with management's willingness to sacrifice talent for corporate protection. The leaked conversation between Reed and Roman Reigns shows the injured superstar apologizing for being unable to prevent Reed's termination due to his hospitalization. "I tried to tell them you were just doing your job," Roman tells Reed. "I'm sorry they're using my injuries to destroy your career. This isn't what I wanted to happen. I'm sorry they're using my injuries." Roman's apology to Reed shows his recognition that his own medical crisis is being exploited by management to justify destroying an innocent wrestler's career. The victim's acknowledgement that his injuries are being used inappropriately for corporate scapegoating adds another layer of moral outrage to Reed's wrongful termination. But the most shocking revelation is the leaked evidence that Pearce is already planning similar firings for other wrestlers if Roman's condition worsens or legal pressure increases. The contingency planning documents show a list of potential scapegoats ranked by their expendability and legal vulnerability in case additional corporate protection becomes necessary. Multiple talent terminations may be required to demonstrate comprehensive response to safety failures, Pearce's leaked memo states. Priority should be given to performers with limited mainstream value and weak legal representation. Multiple talent terminations. Pearce is planning to sacrifice additional wrestlers' careers if the corporate pressure from Roman's injuries continues to escalate. The systematic planning for destroying multiple careers shows that Reed's firing is just the beginning of a broader scapegoating campaign designed to protect management from accountability. The corporate calculation of which wrestlers are expendable enough to sacrifice for legal protection reveals the dehumanizing way that WWE views their talent roster. But the leaked legal consultation shows that Reed's attorney is already gathering evidence about WWE's broader pattern of using talent terminations to avoid management accountability. This appears to be systematic retaliation disguised as disciplinary action, Reed's legal team apparently concluded. The pattern of sacrificing talent to protect management suggests a corporate culture of scapegoating. Systematic retaliation disguised as discipline. The legal analysis of Reed's firing reveals it as part of a broader corporate strategy rather than legitimate response to individual misconduct. The pattern recognition by legal experts could strengthen wrongful termination claims and expose WWE's systematic abuse of disciplinary processes for corporate protection. Meanwhile, the wrestling industry's reaction to Reed's firing has been swift and overwhelmingly critical, with multiple promotions reportedly reaching out to offer him opportunities. The industry recognition that Reed was wrongfully terminated for following management instructions has created sympathy and support that could actually benefit his career despite WWE's attempt to destroy it. But Reed's leaked statement shows that his primary concern isn't finding new employment, it's exposing the truth about WWE's scapegoating tactics and protecting other wrestlers from similar treatment. "This isn't just about my career," Reed states. "This is about holding WWE accountable for their safety failures and preventing them from destroying other wrestlers' lives to cover up management negligence. Preventing them from destroying other wrestlers." Reed's focus on broader justice rather than personal vindication shows his commitment to protecting colleagues from similar corporate abuse. His willingness to fight WWE's powerful legal team to expose their scapegoating tactics demonstrates courage that goes far beyond individual self-interest. The leaked evidence from Reed's termination proves that Pearce's firing decision was corporate scapegoating rather than legitimate accountability for safety violations. Reed was terminated not for unauthorized violence, but for being expendable enough that WWE could sacrifice his career to protect executives who actually authorized the dangerous attack on Roman Reigns. The documented proof of management authorization for Reed's actions exposes Pearce's firing as fraudulent discipline designed to shift blame away from systematic safety management failures. Reed's wrongful termination lawsuit could expose the entire scope of WWE's corporate cover-up and force accountability for the executives who nearly killed Roman Reigns through negligent safety authorization. The wrestling community must support Bronson Reed's fight for justice and demand transparency about WWE's systematic use of talent terminations to avoid management accountability. Adam Pearce's firing of Bronson Reed is corporate scapegoating. Reed followed management instructions and is being sacrificed to protect the executives who authorized the violence that nearly killed Roman Reigns.